The strange thing about life is that most of it happens when no one's watching. The real battles, the ones that shape you, define you, burn you, and build you, those take place in silence. There's no background music, no audience, no awards. Sometimes there's not even a single person cheering you on. And in those quiet, brutal moments, the only thing that keeps you going is knowing your worth. When I started out, I was just a regular guy with nothing but a bag full of ambition, a little bit of madness, and a whole lot of dreams. I didn't have the perfect face, the perfect body, the Godfather, or even a plan B. What I had was belief, not arrogance, not delusion, just this deep, burning belief that I could make something of myself, that maybe, just maybe, I could stand in front of that camera and make people feel something. But let me tell you something, belief is a funny thing. It doesn't pay rent, it doesn't get you callbacks, and in the beginning it sure as hell doesn't get you claps. I remember those days, auditions that went nowhere, doors that didn't open, phone calls that never came back. I'd walk into a room full of hope and walk out carrying rejection like extra weight on my shoulders. And that weight, it grows. If you let it, you begin to question yourself. Am I good enough? Am I meant for this? Should I quit? And worst of all, what if they're right about me? But here's the deal. If you let the world decide your worth, it will underprice you every time. The world doesn't clap for you when you're unknown. It claps when you win. But the irony is, you don't win unless you keep going without the claps. You win when you keep showing up, even when it hurts. You win when you keep creating, even when nobody's watching. You win when you treat yourself like someone who matters, even when no one else does. There's power in not being seen. There's freedom in not being recognized. Because when nobody's watching, you can fall without shame. You can experiment without fear. You can build yourself from scratch, raw, messy, and honest. And in that invisible space, when no one's clapping, you find yourself. I learned early on that applause is addictive. It's loud, it's beautiful, and it's dangerously temporary. If you chase it, you'll end up being a version of yourself that's easy to love, but hard to live with. You'll trade your truth for their approval. You'll bend so much that one day you'll break. And worst of all, you'll forget who you were before the noise began. What way? You know your worth, truly know it. You don't need the applause. You become your own validation. You clap for yourself. You look in the mirror and say, I see you. I respect you and I'm proud of you, even if no one else is. And trust me, that's when the magic begins. Because when you stop waiting for people to tell you you're enough, you start acting like you are. You walk differently, you speak differently, you dream bigger. You stop tiptoeing around people's opinions. You stop shrinking to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You show up as the main character of your own life, even if there's no script and no director yelling, action! So if you're sitting there wondering why no one notices your work, your effort, your hustle, hear me loud and clear. You don't need to be seen to be valuable. You don't need claps to be worthy. You don't need the spotlight to shine. Some of the most extraordinary people I know built themselves in the dark. They failed without an audience, cried in silence, bled without applause. And when they finally rose, they didn't just arrive, they exploded. So keep going, keep believing, keep building yourself when no one claps. Because one day, the same world that ignored you will look at you and say, where did you come from? With that quiet smile, the one that says, you've been through fire and came out gold. There's a strange noise we all grow up craving, the sound of applause, the clapping of hands, the likes, the cheers, the well done, and the I'm proud of you. We chase it like it's oxygen. We think that if people approve of us, if they clap loud enough, then we must be doing something right, that we must be enough, that we matter. But here's the truth no one tells you. Applause can be a trap. I've heard the loudest applause in the biggest stadiums. I've stood on stages with thousands of people screaming my name, holding banners, crying, laughing. It's beautiful, it's overwhelming, it's addictive. But you know what's scary? When the lights go out and you walk off that stage, silence follows. And if your entire self-worth is tied to that applause, then the silence feels like suffocation. You start to doubt yourself. You start thinking, did I lose it? Did I not perform well enough today? Do they still love me? Am I still relevant? And that's where the danger lies, because applause is never constant. People are fickle. Today they'll adore you, tomorrow they'll question you, and next week they might forget you entirely. You can't build your life on that foundation. It's too shaky, too unstable. The problem isn't the applause. The problem is needing it to feel whole. You see, when you start living for applause, you start performing instead of living. You make choices based on what looks good, not what feels right. You start curating your life like a highlight reel, smiling when you're breaking inside, succeeding in public while crumbling in private. You wear masks that are shiny and impressive, but behind them, you lose touch with who you really are. It's like being stuck in a never-ending show where you can't stop dancing, can't stop smiling, because the moment you pause, the claps might fade. And you can't bear the idea of silence. But let me tell you something, as someone who spent decades under the spotlight, silence isn't scary, it's sacred. It's in the silence that you rediscover your truth. You learn what you love when no one's watching. You learn who you are when you're not performing. You learn what matters when the noise fades away. And you realize that life isn't a stage, it's a journey. You weren't born to be a show. You were born to be a soul. And the soul doesn't need applause. It just needs freedom. When you stop living for the applause, something shifts inside you. You stop filtering your words to make everyone comfortable. You stop compromising your truth to please the crowd. You stop making yourself small so others can feel big. You become bolder, braver, more authentic. You start doing things not for attention, but for alignment. Not for claps, but for clarity. Not for validation, but for fulfillment. And here's the irony. The moment you stop caring about applause is often the moment you start getting it. Real applause. Not the kind that comes from trends or timing, but the kind that comes from touching life just by being yourself. Not everyone will clap, but the ones who do, they'll be clapping for you, not a version you created to impress them. I've had hits that earned billions and flops that almost broke me. I've been praised like a god and trolled like a criminal. But I've learned to be okay in both moments, because neither applause nor criticism defines me. I define me. And you define you. So don't let your life become a performance. Don't turn every moment into a scene. Don't wait for someone to validate your dream before you dare to chase it. Sing even if no one's listening. Dance even if no one's watching. Love, create, explore, even if there's no audience in the room. Because one day, when you're old and the claps have long faded into memory, you won't remember the noise. You'd remember the moments, the risks you took, the food you lived, the freedom you claimed, the person you became. And in that quiet, sacred moment, you'll smile, not because they clapped, but because you finally stopped needing them to. The predictable, the ones who fit neatly into boxes and checklists, But you were never meant to be a copy-paste version of someone else. You were born original. You were born to shake the ground a little. When I first walked into the film industry, I didn't walk in with a six-pack or a famous last name. I walked in with nothing but dreams and a weird sense of belief. I wasn't the conventional hero. I was skinny, sharp, fetid, too intense. But I wasn't here to fit anyone's idea of what a hero should look like. I was here to break the damn mold. And I did. Not because I had some master plan, but because I wasn't afraid to take risks that made people uncomfortable. I played villains when others were afraid to tarnish their image. I cried on screen when macho heroes were too busy punching walls. I danced with open arms in mustard. I spoke Urdu poetry with a broken heart, and even wore prosthetic abs in a superhero suit. Some called it madness. I called it honesty. The truth is, if you're always trying to be light, you'll never be real. And if you're not real, you'll spend your whole life playing a version of yourself that makes everyone else happy, but quietly kills you inside. So I say this with love. Be bold. Be mad. Be you. Speak up when everyone's quiet until it succeeds. Then they call it genius. Then they'll say, I always believed in you, but in the beginning, they'll call you delusional, reckless, weird. Let them. Let them talk while you build. Let them mock while you move. Because here's something no one tells you. The people who change the world are never the ones who played it safe. They're the ones who were brave enough to look stupid for a while. The ones who dared to do what others were too afraid to try. The ones who walked into rooms where they didn't belong and stayed there until they owned the room. You've got to stop shrinking just to make others comfortable. Stop dimming your light because it makes someone else squint. Stop editing yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. You want to wear pink at 40? Do it. You want to change your career at 35? Do it. You want to write that book, sing that song, start that business, say how you really feel? For God's sakes, do it. Because life isn't a rehearsal. This is it. The stage is yours, and it's not waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be present, to be messy, bold, unapologetic, wild, emotional, loud, quiet. Whatever you are, just be that. Fully. And one more thing, don't wait for permission. No one's going to come hand you a certificate saying, you're allowed to be yourself now. And that permission, it's yours to give today, right now. The world will adjust. So if you've been holding yourself back, dimming your fire, trying to be the right version of yourself, let it go. Burn the script, rewrite the story. Be bold enough to take the risk, mad enough to believe it will work, and real enough to own every step of the journey. Because at the end of it all, when the curtain falls and the lights go out, the only question that will matter is, did I live as myself or did I live as someone else's idea of me? Choose yourself and watch the world catch up.